It is 5 o'clock. We will now begin the Citizens Forum for the April 26, 2012 Mayor and Alderman Workshop. First on our list, and forgive me if I say this incorrectly, Tracy Forisha. Miss Tracy. She was here. We'll go on, and I would like the opportunity if she comes back in to allow her to speak, because she was here. Mr. Roger Floyd.
That's Lloyd.
Lloyd.
But,
I always say put that F in front of it, don't I? I'm sorry.
My name's Roger Lloyd, and I'm president of Mid-America Distributors, and this is a family company that we've been in the fireworks business for 36 years, and 23 years we've been in Laverne. The last 23 years, 22 years at Jones Boulevard, and then the last year we had a facility on we have a facility on Parthenon, but we ran out of room at the other facility, and we looked at Davidson County and Smyrna, Laverne, and Wilson County, and Williamson County, but we really just loved Laverne and just wanted to stay here, and we were able to get a place that fit our needs. But we have no problem with the fireworks ordinance that was passed last fall. We just are requesting one exception to that that would apply to just us and one other company, B&B Fireworks. From time to time, we have to shoot samples that we're thinking about adding to our product line, or we might need to do a demo for someone, or shoot a few things to include in a video, or just maybe 10 or 15 times a year we might need to shoot a few things, and the new ordinance does not allow us to do that because we're too close to a storage facility. And we would just appreciate it if the city could work with us on this. I know the safety is an issue that I've heard after talking to a few people. And the big difference is that the ordinance was intended for the general public. And we're quite a bit different from the general public. The general public might shoot fireworks one time a year, maybe twice, for July 4th and New Year's Eve. We deal with fireworks every day, and we've been doing it for years and years and years, every working day. So we are extremely experienced. Safety is no issue. We just want to be able to shoot a few things off from time to time at our facility, just like we've been doing for the last 23 years. And so I would appreciate it if you all could work with us. I know that no questions can be, I'm not sure if any questions can be addressed, but anyway, I would appreciate it if y'all could consider that.
Thank you. All right. Next, Miss Nancy.
Good evening, all. I'm so glad to see you back.
I'm glad to be back, and I can see.
Dennis did give me a few minutes of his time when I was here last, but I asked to come back when you were here also to speak just briefly, really briefly, I promise. I am the newest member of the Smyrna Laverne Assistance Coalition. I'm the newest board member, and Linda Brown is our director, but she's had some major medical issues for the last couple of months, and since I'm the newest board member, I've been sitting at her desk writing all the checks to help the Laverne residents. And as a 45-year Laverne resident myself, I just felt like that I wanted to come and speak to you all personally after hearing your budget hearings and hearing some concerns about whether the grant that was given to SLAC, Samara Laverne Assistance Coalition, actually affected Laverne residents. And I spoke before and said that I can assure you, most of you know me personally, I can assure you they do because I write the checks. I was at the water department today and paid this person's bill. And I usually go 2 or 3 times, well, I go twice a week, every Tuesday, every Thursday. We're open 2 days a week. And then as I leave the SLAC office, I come right up here to the water department and pay their bills. And I just wanted to share, first of all, I have a list of our board of directors, if you guys just wanted to pass them around. I'm the only Laverne resident that works there, so I thought I'd be the one that should speak here. Also, I wanted to just share with you that in this calendar year alone, from January 1st and to today, April 26th, we have spent $7,777.60 in paying water and NES for Laverne residents only. That's Laverne residents only. Prior to this year, in 2011, we were only, in the whole calendar year, we were only able to help 67 families. This year, so far, just till April 26th, we have already assisted 48 families. And so I just wanted to get those numbers out to you and just let you know, and I do have a list for anybody that wants to see it, and you can even keep this. I have had to block off, personal names of folks, but how much we have paid in Laverne Water, how much we've paid to NES for just Laverne residents only. And I knew that there was some concern about whether the grant money really did affect Laverne residents, and I thought, since most of you do know me, I can assure you it does, because I'm the one writing those checks. And I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to be here. And I also want to thank you for a policy. I don't know if it's a new policy or an old policy, but when I called the Laverne Water every Tuesday and Thursday, and unfortunately, for our bylaws and policies, protocol, we cannot assist anybody whose services have been interrupted. We can't pay reconnect fees. And so I have talked with Mary and with Mary and Harley and Tammy. I've talked to everybody every Tuesday and Thursday, and they have told me as a one-time courtesy they will waive that reconnect fee and spill it over to the next month, which helps our clients a lot to be able to put that off for 30 days and still get, like today, they got reconnected before today was over by them waiving that reconnect fee. And it was much more than we are allowed to pay, but they signed a promissory note, they came down here, they paid their part of it, we paid our part, and they got reconnected before the day was over by them not totally waiving it, but putting it off, extending it until next month. That helps a great deal. But I would like to ask if you might consider, for the clients that we serve anyway, if we could waive that reconnect fee all the way, because they wouldn't come to us if they didn't need help, and just putting it off for 30 days is, that's a wonderful blessing for these people. And it's just a request. It's just a request that perhaps we could help them even more if we could, forfeit that reconnect fee. It would help them, it would help us, because until you enforced the putting it off a month, we weren't able to help them at all. We just had to send them on their way. And what I told Dennis last time when I first started working there, we were down to $7.75 in the Laverne grant log. And I said, living in Laverne myself, I can't sit back there and say, if you live in Laverne, I can't help you. And so I went out and raised a lot of funds myself. And it's what has got us through. It's what's got us through so far this year, because just in 2 months, I've raised over $7,000, just specifically for Laverne residents.
I am really glad that you did come up and speak with us, because I had no idea.
I wanted you to
and
hear
a lot
it.
of these, especially new ones when we're dealing with the budget, getting to know these organizations and what these organizations do, who they provide for. It's a learning process, and I love it when people want to make themselves visible and share and let us know. And I very much appreciate you coming in and speaking.
And Mayor, I would like to just give you this so you can see. It's got our check numbers and the amounts that we've paid, and they're everyone Laverne residents. I have blocked out their names, but they're everyone Laverne residents.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so
You're
much.
very welcome. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Okay. We'll move right into our actual workshop. Our meeting will be Tuesday, May the 1st, 2012. We do have citizens' comments, maybe at that meeting as well. They do begin at 6:45. You do have to sign up 15 minutes prior to the meeting, so anyone that would like to speak at that Tuesday night, please feel free to come and do so. I have the prayer this meeting. Vice Mayor, you will have the pledge. That's all right. We do have a certificate of appreciation. And now, is this the little Caleb we finally found with the surviving the storm? Awesome, awesome. I think y'all will get a real kick and joy out of this young man. We were at the Surviving the Storm, and they asked him a question. And he popped that answer out and had Nancy Van Camp stunned. And she thought somebody had prepped him, and they did not. She asked him, where did he learn this information? And he said, well, Laverne Public Library. So it was precious. So I want the city to meet this young man. He's great advertisement. We will have our Employee of the Month and, of course, our Chief's Award of Excellence. Let's move right into the consent agenda. I don't think we have any old business. The consent agenda, I guess, where did Miss Felicia go? Does she have those? The bids for the fireworks. Let's go to those. Fireworks.
Looks like there was just one.
Just one, and then aren't we in a contract with him?
This was the first, previous contract expired last year. This is
Okay.
another new contract for a 3-year period,
Okay,
locked in at that 12.5.
okay,
And it was the only one that came back, if I could speak to it, was Pyro Shows. That's the folks we've been with for quite some time.
okay. I mean, they've always done a really good job, so. All right, anybody have any questions? Y'all stop me if you do. I get to go if y'all have questions. All right, number 2, that one will be easy. That is a sole source for the Laserfish upgrade. Mr. Bruce?
Right, this is the, we've talked about Laserfish and retreats and other times, and this is the upgrade that we had discussed. We budgeted $50,000 for this upgrade. The cost for this upgrade will be just under $31,000, and will allow more people to use the system. They're actually going to expand over into the police department. We will have to look at probably getting some more scanners down the road, but this will give us a more reliable system, a faster system, so it'll be a good upgrade. And we've been using Laserfish since 2003, and this vendor is considered a sole source. We're getting some discounts because they are our existing vendor. So.
And we use, I mean, I know everybody uses
We use
that.
it a lot.
Even the citizens have access to
Mhm.
a lot of the documentation because of
Right.
this. So.
Right.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Number C
The
is approved Amendment 1 to the contract with Laverne Fire Department, Inc. regarding medical first responder services and the purchase of the SCBA equipment. All right.
Did you skip one? The rescue
we
squad?
can go back to B.
I did, but we can go back. Just don't let me forget. All right, let's go on since we're on this one. Ricky, you got this one, or who's gonna?
Mhm.
During our budget hearings and all, we were looking for some money that we could spread out a little bit over 2 years instead of one. And one of the things that, and we went back in the fire department's agreeing to go back and instead of making that purchase over 1 year, making it over 2 years. That's one of the revisions that's made there. The other is the medical first responder program that we're about to start. We'll be probably signing that agreement in the next 2 weeks with Rutherford County EMS to start running the official first responder program. And this is just the amendment to the contract to make those things fall into place.
Section 1 of the agreement is for that medical first responder. I think Evan has reviewed this. This should be good to go. Section 2 of the ordinance is where we're talking about the SCBA equipment. Originally, it was going to be just out of this next fiscal year, but now we're spreading that over 2 years to allow us to budget for it better.
I thought we discussed our concerns over spreading those out, because it's 36, and these all have places to go to. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. They are.
That we have bodies to fit these.
That's correct. These are actually assigned through ISO, that they're assigned to apparatus. They're not necessarily assigned to personnel.
Okay, okay.
Each different piece and type of apparatus through ISO services for our
Okay.
rating require, an engine company requires 4, a service company or a ladder
Okay, so
company
we're-
requires 6. In
I just
order
wanna
to
make
put them
sure
all
we're
up.
clear
Yeah,
on
yes,
that.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, everybody understand what we're doing here? This is getting our first responder up and running, and it's been running, y'all
A
been
lot.
making a few, and it's been doing really well.
We have been running quite a few medical calls already, but we've been just trying to get equipment in place and getting this agreement in with Rutherford County EMS, which Vice Mayor's been working on this week as well with Randy White with the EMS. This is just something that the agreement will have to be signed in order for us to move forward with this program. Chief Walker and the police department we're in the process of trying to get an AED grant so that we can put AEDs in all of our city buildings and all of our patrol units. So Chief has come on board as well with this program. They'll be providing those services as well. The fire department will just be taking the brunt of the full response for medical situations until an ambulance can get on scene.
And I know this is a lot of information here, please read over. And if should you have any questions for Tuesday night, go on and mark them. But I'm a firm believer in the first responder program. I mean, we've already proven that it saves lives.
We actually had to save, Chris, 10 days ago?
It saves lives.
So-
All righty. Any questions? Okay, thanks, Ricky. All right, let's go back to B. Approve Amendment 1 to the agreement with the Laverne Rescue Unit regarding the police department vote.
Last month, we had approved an amendment with the rescue squad, and then we found that there was a mistake in there for the dollar amount that we were paying them every month. So that all this does is correct that dollar amount to where they're getting what was budgeted of the $40,000 per year.
And this is not changing the money, this
Right.
is the same money
Right.
that they always get. It's just somehow the numbers on the agreement got mixed up, and we do need to make sure that that is correct on here. All right. D, approve grant contract between the State of Tennessee Department of Military Tennessee Emergency Management Agency and the City of Laverne for the completion of an approved hazard mitigation plan project 1909-0053 for the acquisition and demolition of the property located at 173 Taylor Drive. This is the first phase, am I saying that correctly, or is this the second?
It's gonna be phase 2.
It's gonna be
It was
phase
in-
2?
It was in phase 1, and then Katie can
Okay.
explain it better, but
This is one of the flooded properties that had severe damage, and that we're getting the federal monies where we have to match 12%.
15%.
Is it 15%?
It's
Okay.
15. Where we're at on this, basically, the Phase 1 application was due, and we hadn't heard back on that before the Phase 2 application was done. We had submitted the Phase 1 application for one property owner that had decided to back out of the program 2 days after the application was submitted. We tried to go through and change over the application so that it could be this property, but since the application was already submitted for Phase 2, FEMA didn't want to go through that paperwork since they already had everything for this one, so they approved us for Phase 2. So we are not proceeding with Phase 1, which Evan, I actually have a question. We need to write a letter to TEMA stating that we want to withdraw from that. Does that need to be an agenda item
Withdraw from that process?
for phase one?
This board already authorized to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, the board would have to
Okay.
not authorize it.
Okay.
So we'll need to only put that on there and then follow up with this.
We might want to go ahead and get this process going and then do that next month, so that way everything's rolling with this one and then withdraw, just to make sure that there aren't any hiccups and that we don't give up that money that was originally allocated us to begin with. Just my thoughts.
And I was trying to remember our part, I think
It's
it's
six-
17, 16?
It's $16,268.50.
And then our federal is 97,613.
And then the state has the same share that we do, the 16,000.
Do we have any questions? This is from the May 2010
Yes.
flood. And I believe the water, this house was
Yes.
severely
Yes.
damaged.
And she will be very happy when this is approved and we can get the ball rolling with the appraisal and get her out of that house.
Yes. Okay, any questions? All right. E, approve application for the 2012 JAG grant or the Justice Assistance Grant. Chief, is this one, this is what we do, don't we do this every year? I think we do this every year.
That's a 100% federal grant that comes to us. It's for equipment. We don't get anything for personnel or for time at all. It's simply equipment to enhance criminal investigations and anything like that that we have from a law enforcement perspective. And all we're doing here is just asking permission to go ahead and submit it, and then it'll be approved down the road.
Okay. Any questions? We like those grants,
Yes, ma'am.
especially 100% one. Thank you, Chief. Yeah. All right. New business. We've got some boards. On this one, we do have the vacant of the fire marshal. They're still working on, I think we're gonna end up changing that, I believe, to fire inspector. That is still being worked on. The vacant city administrator, I think, we do have an interim, and I think we should probably look at putting Bruce on there. If that's okay with Bruce and the emergency board.
He's there every time anyway.
You're gonna be here, you need to know, so we're probably gonna just nominate, put you on there this month, if that's all right with everybody.
That's fine.
All right. Parks and Recreation. As required by the regulations approved last year regarding the removal of board or committee members, the Alderman Broker, chairman of the committee, and the Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Marler, have requested that Mr. Wilson be removed from this committee. He has not been attending meetings, and after multiple attempts to get him to do so, I mean, we worked really hard, I think, trying to work with Mr. Wilson to get him back interested into, I think, probably work duties and all of that have hindered some, but at this time, they are requesting to remove him, and we'll probably have to wait till next month.
We'll
To
start
appoint.
advertising it on
Yeah.
Channel 3 and take applications and then fill it at the next meeting.
Okay? Again, y'all please stop me if you have any questions or comments. Number 6, this will be the first reading, ordinance 2012-05, an ordinance to amend the 2011-2012 fiscal year general fund budget and capital plan for 2 public works vehicles. Okay, Ms. Phyllis or Greg?
Mayor and Board, we are not asking to spend any more money. We just want to spend it in each of the fleet and the streets budgets in different sub-accounts than they were originally budgeted. So in the one is operating supplies, we're seriously underspent year-to-date. We want to take some of that cash and piggyback on a bid that we got out of Murfreesboro Ford. 60, 75 days ago, and get that great pricing on a couple more service trucks, one in the streets and one in fleet. So I'm not asking for any more cash, just asking to spend it a little bit different way than it was originally budgeted.
That's- Okay,
One line item to the.
okay. Everybody understand? This is not adding anything extra, we're just rearranging. And it's in his department. Okay? Number 7, first reading, ordinance 2012-06, and ordinance to amend the 2011-2012 fiscal year police impact fees budget for communication equipment. Alrighty. And this will be for the radio,
It's,
making sure.
we have talked about budgeting this in the 12-13 budget year.
Right.
And the chief has found, some pricing that he wants to take advantage of in this fiscal year, and he would like to move that from the general fund to the police impact fee fund, in the current fiscal year instead of next year. And so we have made those adjustments in the 12-13 year, and this is the amendment for this year.
Okay. Again, we're just taking money, it's not any additional money.
Well, actually, it is because this was not budgeted in the current year.
Okay, so we
It was
are.
utilizing impact fee money.
Okay. But it's the impact fee
But we're
money is
reducing
there.
next year, so.
Yes, it reduces the capital that we requested in the LPD budget for next year, moves it to this year, but we're using police impact fees, which are dedicated solely for the purchase of equipment or
Exactly.
facility enhancement as a result of equipping personnel. This will allow us to purchase 11 radios for a little over half of what we anticipated, or something like that, and maybe 2/3 of what we anticipated these radios costing for next year. And we can replace box and rescues radios with comparable radios, but they're cheaper purchasing them off statewide contract this fiscal year. So well, we're saving money and using impact fees that are not other revenues.
Sounds good. Any questions? All right. Number 8, first reading, ordinance 2012-07, an ordinance of the City of Laverne, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2012, and ending June 30th, 2013. Now, the only thing that we have changed,
We made a few minor changes from the workshop, and I can go over those.
yeah, let's start
we
with
had
this, so they'll know
talked-
to pinpoint those out so they can look at it.
We had increased the seniors' budget for $4,700. That was talked about in the workshop. We had increased the chamber by $10,000. We had added the lightning detection system for $25,000. We corrected the Parks and Rec seasonal labor of $32,749. We reduced the codes department budget for the condemnation by $10,000, and we added the MPO transportation study, and that was $16,000. And we also took out $49,000 from, no, that's next year, sorry, never mind. Anyway, that was the only changes that we made since the workshop. And we still have.
Some of those were discussed at the workshop, we just had
Yeah.
to put them back in there, we
Right.
discussed up in the seniors.
The chamber, we just went back to what we were doing. So
Right.
we didn't really add, we took away and we just went back to what we were last year.
And also, we did reduce the capital for the radios, $49,000, so.
Yes,
That offset most of the changes that we made. That
And we're
was,
still completely in the,
yes, we have 382, that will go back into fund balance.
yes.
So we're still favorable, 33,000.
But please, 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 look over this
Yes.
before Tuesday night, making sure study it, we know what we've discussed, we have notes, from each workshop that we've had, making sure, so please look over this before Tuesday night. If you have, make questions, whatever, before we vote on it. But like I said, those are the only thing, I think only 2 of those were the radios and stuff that we actually did not, and the MPO that we forgot about, that we had to add back in that was not discussed with this board prior to. But we've got them on the agenda now, so the radios, and then like I said, we forgot to put the MPO funding in there, so. And we've got that taken care of.
We ended our last workshop talking about lightning detection. Added, did we not add it?
Yes, it was
Okay,
added.
it was added in,
Yes,
okay.
it was
okay,
added.
just making sure.
Absolutely, yes.
It's under the emergency services
Okay.
department.
I know we talked about it, wanted to see if it was in there. Okay.
That's why I said, be sure to look over, because, we had our notes where we were gonna add and take away,
Okay.
making sure that they're what y'all thought we were doing. All right. Any comments before we move on? All right, number 9, first reading, ordinance 2012-08, an ordinance to amend Title 15, Chapter 6 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding no parking on the street, and amend Title 15, Chapter 7, Section 15701 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding the enforcement of illegal parking. This is strictly cleaning up the language regarding parking in the street. Period. That's all this ordinance is doing, is we're cleaning up our verbiage on parking in the street. It is not, it hasn't been legal since '85. We're not changing anything. You still can't park on the street. We're just cleaning up the verbiage on this ordinance. Has nothing to do with anything else other than parking on the street. So I'm going to open this up now for discussion. Any comments? If you'll look at 17. You got it highlighted, Bruce?
The,
Illegal, okay, there's the 15703.
15703 was about who basically enforces the ordinance. Previously, it had police officers and the codes enforcement officer in here. We have removed the codes enforcement officer because it is a police issue, not a codes issue as far as parking in the street. So we have made that change there. As far as the other part of the ordinance, the first part, we amended 15601 and 604. We also took out the permit provision that was previously in there. And of course, there's nothing in here that talks about parking on the lawn or anything like that. So.
Again, let's reiterate. Parking on the street only. Only. I don't want feathers ruffled or nothing. Now, here's my question, and this I think this will be the chief. It is my understanding, however, if you're going to have a party and you have a lot of people that's going to be attending, can they still contact the police department and say, I'm having a party at 149 Greenwood, I will have several people parking? Can they still do that? Now, that's what we need to do. We do need to clarify that.
They've always done it.
There are a couple of issues with that, and council can correct me if I'm wrong. There's no provision in this ordinance that I'm aware of that would permit us to permit the violation of intentionally of what the ordinance says. Another issue with that is something that Assistant Chief McCormick and I have talked about on numerous occasions, and that is in the event of a fire. If one of the quints, I call them, they're actually quints, but they're called squirts, or the ladder platform have to be deployed. The ladder platform takes 18 and a half, is that right? 18 and a half feet to securely and safely operate that vehicle in a situation, and it could be in a residential area. You have to have the outriggers extended the full distance to safely elevate that platform and maneuver it and use it. I've been in one of those in a 100-foot platform, and it's comforting to know that those outriggers are totally out and secured. Now, what will happen if we ignore what the ordinance says, even if you give us the permission to do that, there's a potential down the road that, and no pun intended, that on a city street where that apparatus is needed in the event of a fire, there may not be sufficient space to utilize that apparatus. That was one concern. The other concern that Bruce and I and Evan and I had talked about is the issue with permits. In order to issue a permit, we would have to have someone physically go to every location every time they ask to do this, measure, make a determination, could it be done safely, was the roadway width, paved roadway section within the curb wide enough to be able to get those apparatus in there, set them up, and then have parking on the other side. And that would be an absolute nightmare. We don't have the personnel to do that. We need to be patrolling the streets rather than doing that.
Well, I just want to make all this stuff clear.
I don't see how I could say that's okay.
I
Now,
know, on my street, you couldn't do it with the
Off-
big ditch and the car, a fire truck couldn't get down through there.
officers have discretion to enforce the law. That's one of the things that's there with almost every agency I know, even in departmental policy. There are only a few things that officers do not maintain a personal discretion, things such as DUI, et cetera. Felony offenses, crimes, not making charges. But on traffic offenses, it's a little different. They have the authority to issue a warning, verbal or written, in lieu of a citation. However, this does not give us a provision to ignore the law if somebody is violating it. And there would probably be as many written at my house as anywhere else if all of our kids come for Christmas or Thanksgiving. We don't have a driveway big enough for all of them. So that's an issue that's out there. I don't think I really answered your question, but I don't know how I could unless Evan can describe a way that could occur. But
well, I think it's up to y'all just to decide whether or not you've heard the chief's concerns. He's got concerns from a public safety standpoint and from just a purely administrative standpoint. I mean, the public safety standpoint's obvious. The administrative standpoint, he's saying that's a nightmare to think about how you would safely administer a program like that. Ultimately, though, it's y'all's decision in terms of whether or not you want to have an appeal, or not an appeals, but a permitting process in there or not. That's y'all's call.
I think last month we asked codes to kind of go back to the drawing board with this, and we're certainly not the only city that's ever had a problem with parking in the streets or lack of parking available. I don't know what the answer is. We've kind of created a problem with our past developments. Having said that, I mean, is there a solution? I think we keep looking and see if there is. Some streets we definitely could not park on the street. You just could, like you said, you could not get through. Other streets, maybe there's. I was with Bruce a couple times, and I believe we pulled up some other cities where they had some municipalities, and there were some exceptions how they could park legally. I just say we continue to look at this. I agree with what we're doing here. It's the same thing we asked for last month, is basically clean up the verbiage on parking on the streets.
Yeah,
because
that's all this is doing. It's not changing really anything. It's just changing the legal verbiage that's in there.
That's always been a thing since the subdivision.
And really,
was
that's what the amendment last month was trying to do. Maybe I didn't clarify it good enough, but that's all we were trying to do there. But anyone can get up and say, hey, this is legal or this isn't legal. We can date it back to 1985 where it has been illegal to park on the streets. So.
Well, they can park in the yards for the parties.
They'll have to. They've got to park somewhere. I mean, you know.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. All right, let me make sure. Okay, number 10. First reading, ordinance 2012-10, an ordinance to amend Title 18, Chapter 3, Section 18-306 of the Municipal Code regarding grinder pumps.
No,
Did I skip
skip
one
number 10.
again?
Skip 10.
Well, let's go on and get him. Looks like I'm gonna have to go back to the
Madam
eye
Mayor,
doctor.
distinguished aldermen,
Yeah, my surgery didn't help, did it?
I'm just here to talk on this issue for you to clarify something. Since my appointment in September 2011, my department has been trying to get the grinder pump issue in Laverne under control. I don't know if the public knows, I know you folks do, and everybody in our department, that grinder pumps are a major expense to the city of Laverne and to the citizens of Laverne. In 2010 and 11, we spent $331,406 on grinder pumps. In 2011-12, we spent $208,415 on grinder pumps. One of the major problems we in the sewer department run into every day is inappropriate objects being introduced into the tanks. In your pocket, I've included a few pictures. I don't know if they're coming up here. I will warn you, they're not pretty. Of some of the things that our department runs into every day. In the first quarter of the year, I just took December 1st through March 31st, our department ran 41 grinder pump service calls. On 27 of these calls, 61% of our calls, we removed the pump, unclogged inappropriate objects out of them, baby wipes, number of things. Needles,
Sharpie.
put the pumps back in and they're running, okay? 61% of the calls. Besides our time, our labor, it's also damaging the pumps and wearing them out quicker. So for this reason, I asked that we amend our Title 18, Chapter 3 from what it reads. It has always read that destruction or malice or inappropriate objects introduced into the system are illegal. We would just like to clean up the verbiage some, that destruction and introduction of unapproved material objects into pump tanks shall be the responsibility of the owner. Okay? Service will be provided when we replace or repair the existing equipment. However, all costs arising from neglect of the owners or occupants will be the responsibility of the owner. We're just asking that we had one business, and I won't name any businesses, of course. In December, we ran 6 service calls on one business to unclog. And what it was is like Swifter-like products. They have since corrected it. All we're asking is that repeat offenders will be responsible for the costs. I think it's only fair. We want to accomplish that by introducing like a 3-phased approach with letter programs. First of all, we want an initial letter. I might say, my department, boots on, walking this city, we now have a comprehensive list of grinder pumps with addresses, something that we haven't had in the past. We now will be able to send a informative letter to every, we hope, grinder pump that just says, it should come up, maybe not. They will get one, and it's as simple as, if you can't eat it, don't put it down your drain and don't flush it. Okay? We want everyone that has one of these systems to get one of these letters. We could also put it in on Channel 3, maybe even our website. If we go and find inappropriate objects and unclog them, they would then be given another letter warning them that if it happens again, the city of Laverne will no longer be responsible for repair or replacement. We will continue to service the system, but the cost of material and labor will be the owner's responsibility. And we're gonna almost give them like a 3-strike and you're out. We don't want to be unfair until we totally, everybody understands what can and can't go into this system.
And this is only if you're abusing.
If you're abusing the
abusive
system.
to the system. It has nothing to do if you're doing everything right, because I guarantee you, I had my head down in the sewer the other day, and it was not pretty, but it was rags, and you would not believe needles, the syringes. We saw a foosball. And a lot of other stuff too that I didn't want to see again. And it was not, I mean, you could just see it's destroying. And we spent, what was it, $80,000 per pump, 2 pumps at the Hollandale pumping station. And what did that day cost us? And bringing that company out to pump out the rags, the foosballs, that's where the money's going. And this is unnecessary spending.
Down the drain.
It is literally down the drain. And, I mean, I understand when you have small children, sometimes that dump truck, that little bitty matchbox car is gonna go down the toilet. You know, if you have kids, something's going down that toilet eventually that's not supposed to. But a lot of these this is not children, trust me, on those things that we're putting down this, and you know, it's killing our system. And then they're wondering why we continue to pay this exorbitant prices on our sewer. And we're having to fix a lot of stuff that we shouldn't have to be fixing.
Mayor, can I add one point? We're not creating a wheel here. We're simply doing what other municipalities around us do.
Exactly.
So we've been eating this cost for a long time, and this is an opportunity for us to fix that.
And like I said, they literally showed me. I went to look. And I think each of us, and it's not real pretty, but you need to see some of this stuff.
I can just imagine.
That's in there. And I mean, it's killing our system. Any other questions, comments?
What are you laughing at?
All right. Let's go back to number 10. First reading, ordinance 2012-09, an ordinance to amend Title II, Chapter 6 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding the Local Emergency Planning Committee. I believe that's you. You want to take this one? Who's got this one?
I can talk about this one.
I didn't put it on here.
This one is essentially adding an additional member to the committee, which would be the Parks and Recreation Director. This will also change the title from Fire Marshal to Fire Inspector for when we hire later on down the road. And also it adds a paragraph that says if the appointed member cannot attend a meeting or workshop, the agency or department may send a representative to act as a proxy in the appointed member's place. A lot of times, some of these people that are appointed, they can't attend the meetings, and it makes it hard to get a quorum. It makes us hard to, get things approved and discuss everything. So this will allow the agency or department to send somebody else in that person's place so that we can still conduct the business that we need to discuss. So.
Is that okay with that?
And those are the changes in a nutshell.
I mean, especially on this committee, like you said, if you,
Right.
half of them, if they're on an emergency situation, they're not gonna be here.
Right.
And that's,
We meet during the day and not at night,
yeah,
so it's hard for some of them to come.
yeah. Any questions? All right, now the fun one. Number 12, motion to approve bid for the Fergus Road sidewalk project. I'm gonna let you start with this one.
I hope it's the last time we have to go over this bid, but basically after last month, we had said that as far as TDOT was concerned, couldn't go with Sessions, we needed to go with the next lowest one, so that's what we this board approved, subject to their concurrence. Basically submitted a concurrence package to TDOT via email, which must have exceeded their file size that they could receive, which I didn't get notification of that. So I waited the allotted time frame that you're supposed to wait and give them a call back and some more emails to see what the status was. And when I heard back from them, they, at that time, decided that now they could concur with Sessions Paving. As you can see in your package, there should be a letter there. So with the savings, and I'll let Marty McWilliams is here with Wiser. He can probably give his side to it, what he thinks. But since they're the lowest bidder, they're on TDOT's pre-approved list. They now say that it is a technicality and some other reasons like that. As you can see from Wiser's recommendation, that it's recommended that we go back with Sessions Paving since TDOT will now concur with them. There will be a savings from the 234 down to 211. However, now with all this mess up of going back and doing the bids numerous times, there could be, I guess, hurt feelings or people that are upset over back and forth with contractors, stuff like that. But like I say, we've done and followed TDOT's process and tried to follow their recommendations and concurrences and stuff and tried to follow what they said to do. So like I say, hopefully this is the last time, and we do have an email to where they have basically stated they will concur with Sessions. So I believe pretty much after this, if the board does approve this, we'll have to wait an allotted amount of time until we can have a pre-construction conference and then actually get this project started, as long as we make a decision on which one we want to go with. We can still go with civil, but if we did, we'd still have to get their concurrence, and at this point, TDOT may not concur with them since they're willing to concur with the lowest bidder. But I'll let Marty kind of detail
Yeah,
more.
that's fine. You want to step up and if there's any questions? And Evan can tell, we've done everything by the book that TDOT has told us to do.
That's why we're doing this.
That's why we're doing this. I mean, they told us, I mean, y'all saw the letters where they emphatically said, no, they were not on the list. And we went back, we did what they told us to do. You know, everybody's done what we've supposed to, everything that we've been told to do, we have done.
Correct. And how this came about, I'm not for sure. Once I got the concurrence letter, I didn't try to poke and pry and try to find out. We had it, gave it to Kyle. I would recommend going that way.
We just want to get the sidewalk started.
Yeah.
Period. To get this, yes. If y'all have any questions, please ask. Like I said, we're ready. They're the ones that have kept pushing us back. And if we can just get this, we've got the concurrence from TDOT, we've got everything in writing from them. From day one, really.
Originally, we were going to start this month, the project. Where do we see it going from here, start date?
Like I said, we'll have to check with, I know Nancy with Wiser had talked to Lisa Dunn with TDOT, and basically they, to my understanding, are willing to concur with Sessions just as long as this board wants to approve that. So if we approve that, they're pretty much already concurring with Sessions because they've seen the submittal package. It is mandatory that we have 14 days notice. I'll have to send out a letter and give 14 days notice prior to a pre-construction meeting. Now, after that pre-construction meeting, we're pretty much free to.
Yeah, on a roundabout, I would say construction will begin, 30 days. Once, if y'all approve this, 30 days, because we'll issue a contract to the contractor for signing, make sure all those are in order, bonds are in order and all that. Then we'll start the pre-construction conference, and a week, 2 weeks after that, we should have construction underway.
Any other questions? Questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. All right. Number 13, motion to approve a 6-month extension to the agreement with Town Code for the existing city telephone system. I thought we were having major problems with this.
Yes, actually what's going on is we're still working on coordinating the RFP, getting inventory of all parts required, what's going to need to be upgraded, changed out, and then making sure we've got all the routing information pulled. So we're just trying to get an extension to get some more information, and so that we can have more time to get all the information we need.
Okay, I thought we had a problem with the service, the town code, and then where it wasn't matching, our service contract wasn't matching with our telephone time frame, and they were like, we had to vote for keeping one for a year. Remember that, Bruce? And then we had to,
We've had a year to work on this.
yeah.
I mean, we've known for over a year that this was coming up.
It was the service and then the service contract. There was two different, and they weren't together.
I don't remember the details on that. I
But
remember
you know what I'm
something,
talking
but
about.
I
I know
don't
last
remember
year, if I remember, it came down to last moment, it kind of popped up on us, and then that's when we had started actually looking at other options out there. Once we got the actual pricing on it and ran that through the board.
I don't want to be stuck in a 6-month contract. If this is not something we're going to stay with, and I thought there was problems with this to begin with.
Something to do with the switches and getting
Yeah.
parts.
Well, the only thing is, we've got all of our phones and all of our switches through this. And right now, we've still got TDS as a service. Trying to get all that stuff swapped out, there's actually quite a bit to dig through. We've
That's
managed
what
to.
it was. This contract did not mesh with the TDS, the time
Right,
frame.
they had split apart into two separate companies.
Right.
So, and then TDS has been working on a phone, on replacement for us, and they just haven't gotten actually all the equipment listed and figured out all the swap outs that they're going to need to do. We've also been looking at some other options as well, so we can kind of have a comparison and possibly do an RFP, so.
We're going to have to do an RFP in order to, look at a new system, whether it's TDS or anybody else. So, it's going to take a little more time to get that together and all the specifications and everything to go with the new system. So
I just remember us having problems.
How much is 6 months?
that had to do with the service, the maintenance service on the old system. Because they weren't going to service it anymore, something like that, because it was
Yeah.
Nortel.
That's because of
equipment
the,
and
where
everything,
Tamco
so-
and TDS had split.
Right.
How much is 6 more
Yeah.
months gonna cost?
We're looking at, if I'm right, it's 4,000 something per month, so.
It's almost 4,500 per month.
So we're looking at
I
20.
think it's the same thing we're paying already. I don't think it's an increased cost or anything.
Seems like a lot of money to pay for an extension. That could be going towards the system.
It's actually the same contract that we have been doing for several years. It's just, we're trying to find something better than that, because.
But I think when I researched
there's
it, we were
better
paying
options.
way too much to begin with
Yeah.
for the contract, and I hate to go another 6 months on something we're paying an astronomical amount of fee for.
Well, trying to get something else in here quick enough to do any kind of major swap out would be quite an undertaking, to be honest.
We're just kind of.
So without really getting
stuck like
time
we
to
are.
plan it all out. That's where we're kind of falling.
Extend the contract.
We would have to come up with some extra network equipment real quick, because that's actually our main backbone, is built on their equipment.
Theoretically, they could come in and take the system out.
Yeah.
But my concern is, I mean, this wasn't long after we were elected that this came up, and it's had this much time to be looking into this. Why are we, right now, here at the end of the contract, starting it?
Well, as I was saying, we were working with TDS on that as far as swapping out everything, and they were coming up with some diagrams, and we shot a couple things back and forth. We worked on it for about 6 months there, and they just haven't gotten all their stuff together on that yet. So that's when we're starting to look at having to increase the time frame. And then as well, we started looking at some other options out there as well, so we can look at doing an RFP to take care of, doing a comparison with several companies.
I'm tired of the city being stuck with stuff that should have been fixed already.
Broadband network.
That's $27,000 we're gonna have to throw at a system that we're not even gonna keep.
It's
It
like I
doesn't make
said,
sense.
it's just one of the things of trying to come up with something really quick is probably going to not really result very well, so I would not advise it. I think this time would actually give us time. We need to actually figure out what we need to put in, find a good price.
Seems like an expensive, quick answer for $27,000.
Yeah. But that does include our phones and data. It is actually both. It's not just the network, it is the entire group of equipment.
Why did we not do an RFP after we signed the contract last year?
We were actually looking at staying with TDS because of the service, and then they were still trying to figure out what they were going to be able to get for us, what we were going to be able to keep, how they were going to work the contract, if they could buy the equipment from Tamco and us take over from them, or how that was all going to work. So it was all very much in the air at that time.
Any other questions? All righty. All right. Number 14, motion to appoint an interim fire marshal. Bruce and I have talked. We are going through some changes here, changing the fire marshal back to the fire inspector. But during all this, we do need someone acting while we're working on the codes director and the and the fire inspector. And we would like to appoint, this board to appoint an interim until we get all of those positions filled and worked out.
There's a lot of municipal code references that refer to the fire marshal, and without one being in place, that's why we need to have the interim. What I'm looking to do is over the next month go through the municipal code and any references to a specific position, whether it's fire marshal or whatever it may be, building officials, another one. Change that, bring an ordinance for you next month to change that to like city administrator or his designee. That way, if we do have personnel changes, the city administrator would be able to go ahead and make that appointment as far as who would need to carry on those duties. So that's where we are with that.
Okay. And we do have someone that's gonna.
I was going to ask you, do we have somebody?
I think probably the most qualified that we have would be Ricky McCormick. That's my opinion. If he's willing to do so on a temporary basis.
He said no.
That's 30 days right
I don't know.
But if you don't mind, between now and Tuesday, y'all could have some conversations over that. Get back with us on Tuesday night.
Sure.
And I do know where there's extra saran wrap. You could saran wrap him in a chair. All right, number 15, discussion, credit card purchasing system. Ms. Phyllis.
Hey, this is discussion we've been having with SunTrust Bank. Many municipalities have a credit card system where they have access to a online system where we can monitor and regulate spending by department, by person. We are looking at this to kind of replace some of the revolving accounts and some of the credit cards that we currently have because we have so many, and this would give us one credit card that we could use anywhere, anytime, for anything. We have talked to SunTrust, and they're going to come out and do a demo this next week, and we would like to just get the board's blessing to go forward with this. I know we've had some problems just this week or last week with some issues that could have been resolved very, very quickly if we had this online system. And one of the administrators could have went online and made a couple changes, and we wouldn't have had the problems we had this week. But just wanted to let the board know that we're looking into this and would like to move forward.
And this is actually keeping up with it much.
Yes.
It's-
And there is an incentive, there is a rebate program with this. If we spend at least $1 million a year on credit card purchases, we get like a they call it 4.5 points, but it's actually 4.5%, so we would get a $4,500 rebate check if we spend at least $1 million. And it doesn't limit us to, we can also pay other, bills online through a credit card. Doesn't limit us to just a retail store. If we want to try to maximize the rebate program, we can get to that $1 million mark pretty quickly.
But it's much more controlled.
Yes, a lot of controls
Very
to it.
controlled.
A lot of good reporting capabilities.
Mhm.
We can now run different kind of credit card reports to see actually who the vendor or retailer was that the money was spent at, whereas now when we look at, in our local government system, if we look at a credit card purchase or a credit card payment that we've made, we can't tell what was purchased. We always see is a dollar amount and this is bank card. Or we can go to this system and we can see a particular month, everything that was charged that month, who charged it. Each department will have their own credit card, and even the general ledger accounting structure account numbers are set up in this system so that the department head can go in and say, okay, I want this charged to this account number. So it's a very good system. I've seen a demo of the one that's similar to what Smyrna has, and this is pretty close to that.
And we like being able to keep up, knowing where every penny's
You
going.
have to.
Yep, and that's why we were looking into this. We know each department, everything. So it's really keeping up with things.
And each department will be responsible for reconciling their statement. So they're, this will help a lot too, because we tend to have a lot of missing receipts and invoices and stuff. So each department will have more responsibility.
And does this have to have
No, I don't believe it does. There's no contract involved. There's no,
There's no
fees or
charge.
anything that we
There's
have
no
to pay.
fees.
So we're just bringing this forward as informational and if y'all had any comments or concerns, we could address those. But I don't think that this requires any kind of board action.
Any questions? Okay, thanks, Phyllis. Number 16, discussion group medical benefits.
Mayor and board, I would have been here quicker, but I left my walker at the senior center.
Just for everybody that doesn't know, Craig turned 50 on Tuesday.
He's still young.
And I'm still young. I would like to talk with you about, we talked about before, several things that we looked at as we look at cost management for our group benefit system. We put before you several things. What I would like to do is get your permission to go back and to look at 4 areas now. That would be one, to change the emergency room copay, and that'll be our recommendation on that, to do that as soon as possible, or at least by July 1. One, to discuss with you further some additional changes, but make some changes in the pharmacy copay and the formulas for that. What we'll bring back to you is what we think could be the potential savings from that, and also look at bringing to you a system for premium pay for employees hired after a specific date. The grandfather, the current one, and the fourth one is to introduce a four-tier plan to try to reduce the cost or give us better cost management of our current premiums. Currently, we have individual premiums for employee only and family. We need more options there, employee spouse, employee plus children, so a four-tier system. So to bring those changes, the other changes that we discussed, we may bring back at another date, but let's work on those first and present something to the board and then go from there.
Okay, because I don't really, right now, just studying until I don't have enough good, I don't like the two health plans.
Okay.
I think that's too much. I think that is too much to keep. I think we'll spend more time trying to keep up with that. Just from what I'm reading, what I'm seeing.
Right.
I think in the long run, I think that would probably cost us money in the long run. Trying to keep up, because this one's, well, I did everything I'm supposed to do, and no, that's just my opinion and what I'm reading. But that one is, I'm not crazy about that one until you prove to me extra, additional.
Okay,
on that
and we'll do that. The issue with the plans that we have is that 70% of the costs that we incur because of medical issues are controllable expenses, and at some point we'll have to address those issues as well. I think that initially we can make some changes that could produce some cost savings or cost management to the plan, and then it also gives us extra time to come back with some real dollars on what here are the costs for the risk assessments there. You know, I still want to say, and I want to say that every opportunity that I have is that a good viable solution for us to reduce costs is through the clinic, through the Care Here clinic. There are a lot of things that they can do, including lab tests and things that the costs are much less through that clinic than it would going through our primary care physician. I just had my daughter there this week for tests that we have to run each year, so the cost that goes to the clinic is much quicker than the claims I would go through our insurance. So we'll still continue to look at some things there that we can do to reduce the cost. But those are four things that I think that we could do and have some impact, not a huge impact, but some impact, that any dollars will be helpful.
And I think we still need more education on the Care Here.
Okay.
I think, you know, really people understanding it more, and I don't think, I mean, going in and really learning everything that they do, I don't know how we can get that across.
One of the things that we're going to start doing, our first session is May 8th from health management to, and we can also use those opportunities to educate our employees about Care Here, is that we'll send out flyers. It's on May 8th. We'll do a session here for city employees, and we'll do additional, those that we have good participation on that. We can certainly market some other things there. There are some things, but part of that is a paradigm shift that people are not just comfortable changing unless something forces them to change. Sometimes an illness may cause them to go into the clinic, and then once they're there, there's a comfort level.
If they ever go,
and I understand
I'd be happy to go back.
I was not a skeptic I was a skeptic when I first heard back about this in November of 2010. It took me a long time to get there, but I'm going to tell you, you know, it's a way of doing things, especially even if you don't go online, you can certainly call. I like the getting in, getting out. It's the bare basis. They do take the time. The time is spent with the doctor, not in the waiting room. So and that's and they can deal with a lot a lot of things. One of the things that I'm looking to do and probably will do is that, like what we pay for hepatitis B shots for employees that require that, I can get that done much cheaper through the clinic.
Wow.
So those things we're looking at, flu shots as well, you know, those things. So there are opportunities to educate us all. So I'll come up with some way of getting that done and getting information out. Okay?
Any questions, comments?
Do you want to consider any of these at the meeting Tuesday night, or?
I don't think we're ready.
No, we're not ready on
We've had
Tuesday.
enough discussion.
Put this on the agenda for the next workshop again?
Yeah.
Fred, if we're going to put it in this year, though, didn't the gentleman say that we had to have, he would recommend we did it by July,
Yeah.
so we can get.
On some of them, on some of the changes, if we make a change in the, like in the emergency room copay, which is the lowest hanging fruit, we ought to do that. We ought to do that.
So are we ready to do that though? Okay, that'd be May. We have to what, July?
Yeah.
It goes in effect July 1st.
If we did that July 1, we could do that. That gives us the second half of the year. Quite honestly, if we're, you know, if someone's sick and it's a medical emergency, we ought to go. You ought to not even waste any time. But if I've got a cold or flu or whatever and I'm going to the emergency room, I only got a $25 copay, but what we're paying in claims is tremendous. And your 10% is going to be pretty hefty too. So you may save it on the front end, but you're going to pay it on the back end because it's designed for that. So that's one of the things that that we can change and do that quite now. And let me say this. I don't wish to pay anything more, pay anything out of pocket. I'm an employee like anyone else. The reason why we're having these discussions is that how do we make the most effective use of our health plan and save our benefits long term? And that's the reason for this. It doesn't make me a fan. Fortunately, I bring this up after you guys got me the birthday cake, or you really would have got me.
Thank you, Fred. All right. We're down to Mayor and Alderman comments. Alderman Broker, we'll start at your end.
Just little Mike's in surgery right now, like my cat and niece, so just kind of keep him in your prayers. And it's not real serious, but it could be. So just kind of, other than that, what I got tonight.
We'll do that. Alderman Walker. Vice Mayor. Alderman Green.
Not a lot, but we need to remember the Murphy family. They have lost at 2 in the last 2 weeks, plus 1 the week before. So it's Margie's husband's. He's lost 2 brothers.
Oh.
And then, of course, they lost a brother-in-law maybe a week or so before.
Wow.
So that's a lot.
Yes, it is.
And so just remember the Murphy family.
I'd like to thank everyone, Vice Mayor, for running the meeting last month and all your calls. Get well. I had a black eye for about 3 weeks, but it healed quite nicely. And I thank y'all for all the phone calls, emails, texts, jokes. But I do appreciate you, and I would like for y'all, if you don't mind, to remember Ronnie's dad. He's honoring.
Like his son?
And like his son. So hopefully that stubbornness will kick in and get him on the road to recovery. I don't know what I'm forgetting something, but I can't hear what he said. Drug take back Saturday, 10 to 2. And then we have the FOP roadblock Saturday. And your time is 10 to 2 as well? 10 to 3. And we have the POW yard sale, and I apologize for not having that flyer. It will be here on Murfreesboro Road at Merchandise Liquidator. So we got a lot going on Saturday. So get out, visit everybody, even if you don't have any old drugs to come by to meet the people with CADCOR. But remember, if you have old medication, it is a danger in those cabinets, in those medicine cabinets. If you're not using them, do not flush them down our system. Do not put them in the water system. And that's what we all used to do, dump them in the toilet. Do not do that, please. They don't ask you any questions. You put them in a bag, you bring them by, you set them in, and they take them. So please, if you got any older drugs, bring them to the drug take back. Chief, did you have something?
We also have a drop box 24/7, 365 in the lobby of the police department. Too.
Right.
They can do the same thing.
You can drop those off there, but remember, do not flush them down the toilet or do not throw them in the trash because it goes where? Into the dump sites, which gets into our groundwater. So there's a little stormwater. Katie would be happy, proud of me for that. Have I remembered everything, all of our things going on? If so, I will see y'all back here Tuesday night. Meeting adjourned.